WHO launches negotiations for agreement to fight pandemics. The World Health Organization is calling on nations to agree to a legally binding agreement to prevent and respond to future pandemics. The call was made at the meeting of the World Health Assembly, which subsequently decided to establish an intergovernmental negotiating body to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. It is expected that the negotiating body will begin its work in March 2022 and to hold public hearings. The Assembly's decision was taken after the sudden emergence of a new COVID-19 variant named Omicron, which constitutes new threats of more infections, border closures and lockdowns around the world. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said in remarks at the special session of the Assembly in Geneva that COVID-19 has exposed weaknesses in the global health systems to deal with crises, such as a pandemic. Global health security is too important to be left to chance, or goodwill, or shifting geopolitical currents, or the vested interests of companies and shareholders, Tedros told the Assembly, which is a decision-making body of WHO. The best way we can address them is with a legally binding agreement between nations, an accord forged from the recognition that we have no future but a common future. Tedros said the world should thank South Africa and Botswana for detecting, sequencing and reporting the new variant Omicron instead of penalizing them. Some countries have closed borders to visitors from several southern African countries immediately after Omicron was discovered. WHO has strongly criticized the world's richest economies for monopolizing vaccines at the expenses of poor and vulnerable countries. The WHO chief pointed out that almost 8 billion vaccines were administered around the world in less than 12 months, making it the largest vaccination campaign in history. But he said more than 80% of the vaccines have gone to the group of 20 richest countries, known as G20. While low-income countries, most of them in Africa, have received just 0.6% of all vaccines. He renewed a call for countries to support a program to vaccinate 40% of the population of every country by the end 2021, and 70% by mid-2022. He said a total of 103 countries still have not reached the 40% target, and more than half of them are at risk of missing it by the end of 2021. Simply because they cannot access the vaccines they need. WHO's position remains that health workers, older people and other at-risk groups must be vaccinated first in all countries before those at low risk of serious disease, and before boosters are given to already vaccinated healthy adults, he said. Tedros said the goals of a global and legal agreement would be to enable the world to act collectively for prevention, preparedness and response to the next pandemic, ensure equitable access to pandemic countermeasures and support global coordination through a global public health governance, and reinforce the role of WHO. WHO member states will meet to consider the process and timeline for the negotiation of the new WHO instrument.
To stay up to date with the latest news on the United Nations and the world, make sure to subscribe to this Facebook account by clicking the button above this video. See you next time.